to the Veterinarian Medical Association, 71.5% of Americans own a pet. That being said, many of you have probably been to a veterinarian one time in your life. So, when the veterinarian takes you into that small room, the nurse comes in, looks at your animal, and then the vet comes in and takes him back behind that closed door, you might wonder, what exactly happens behind that closed door? Well, there may be more to it than there seems. I have owned animals my entire life, and I've wanted to be a veterinarian ever since I was 5 years old. I always wanted to study animals, learn new things about them, and always be around them. I love taking care of them. Many people believe that a veterinarian simply takes care of animals at the office and then they go home for the day. However, there is much more to the hectic life of a veterinarian than there seems. I will discuss the activities of a veterinarian, what they do, how they do it, why they do it. I'll also discuss the time involved in caring for him each and every day and the emotional toll it can take on a veterinarian. It is not really a secret that many people are not aware of what a veterinarian does in their daily activities. A veterinarian will examine animals for any signs of illness. They will first go over the animal and look for any signs of abscess or any deformalities. They will also check the temperature, look at the animal's eyes, look at their teeth and make sure everything's good there. Also look in their ears, make sure they're all clean and healthy, no ear infections. And they will also take blood work so they can find any internal injuries as well. A veterinarian will then treat any issues found. Treatments can range from complicated surgery to maybe even nothing at all, just rest. Veterinarians may have to do some research to find a cure for some conditions. Bandit here actually has a case of hip dysplasia. He's a 4-year-old Pomeranian. The vet described it as him having the hips of an 11-year-old German Shepherd. So what they did is he found that by simply feeling the hips and finding where the joint didn't work. He then did some x-rays to see how bad they actually were. The treatment for this is simply nothing. Surgery would be expensive, complicated, cause a lot of pain for him. So he decided just let it be as long as he can walk and is alright, not in a lot of pain. But however, in more complicated cases, the veterinarian may have to perform a surgery on an animal. Like in Bandit's case, the surgery would be fixing the hip joint so that it could go back into its socket. And they also have to be prepared for the worst. So like if something goes wrong during the surgery, they have to be able to think quickly about it and be able to consider what options they have. So surgery requires a lengthy recovery, which is necessarily not the best option all the time. A veterinarian has to realize this and has to be able to figure out the best option. In some of these cases, a veterinarian may be called into work at 2 o'clock in the morning if an animal is severely injured and needs immediate attention. Cases like this may include internal bleeding, and an animal has to have immediate surgery to stop this bleeding, otherwise they would die. So a veterinarian has to be able to wake up and be able to think quickly. They also may have an animal near death and have to rush over there and quickly look at the animal, quickly decide what to do. This means not being able to spend a lot of time at home, and also means a sacrifice of family time. So they also may have to travel if necessary, such as work on cattle, livestock, or horses. They would have to travel to the farm because they obviously cannot move the entire herd over to a veterinary office. Also, in cases like large dogs who cannot move and cannot be moved, such as a mastiff, they would have to go to the house and do a house call to determine what is the matter with the animal. A veterinarian also may be working even when they arrive home. They will be looking at the cases they did today, what they could have done differently, how they could have improved it. They will also be thinking about a patient who may have been at the office and how they could have saved that animal's life. It will definitely take an emotional toll on them. So while a veterinarian is sitting there thinking about these cases and what they could have done to save the animal, it will still be taking an emotional toll on them. Euthanizing an animal is not always the easiest decision, but sometimes it is the right decision. The first thing I encountered during my interview was euthanasia of a small miniature pinscher. This dog was 14 years old, blind, deaf, couldn't walk, and Dr. Klekus, who I interviewed, finally decided it was time to put the animal down. And with the consent of the owner, he was able to do it, to put the animal out of its misery. So a veterinarian must decide, at the discretion of the owner, if an animal is a good candidate for euthanasia. If nothing can be done to save it, then definitely it needs to be put out of its misery. They could always go home and wonder if they made the right decision. However, they may be able to move on to the other animals who could be saved and not focus on the animals who couldn't. A veterinarian may have to euthanize an animal as well if the owner cannot afford it. Dr. Klekus, the veterinarian I interviewed, informed me that a lot of people cannot afford this surgery. According to CNN, the average American household makes roughly $51,017 per year. This being said, it is not normally in a family budget for a $3,000 surgery to save a dog who needs it, and in this case, they would have to be put down. While this is not always the easiest decision, a veterinarian also has to keep in mind that they have to have money to survive and to make it as well, so euthanasia is the only option. While it may be hard not being able to save all the animals a veterinarian works with, they must focus on the ones that can be saved. Saving the life of a sick or injured animal is one of the things a veterinarian does in their everyday life, with possibly performing major surgeries or going home to grieve over the loss of an animal who couldn't be saved. The veterinarian's job duties include checking for signs of illness, treating these illnesses, and even performing surgeries. They also must invest a lot of time into their job and learn how to cope with the emotional toll it can take on them. So now, while you're sitting in that small waiting room in a veterinary office, you kind of have an idea of what's going on behind those closed doors and what exactly they are doing to your furry little friend.